Hello, Deerfield. My name is Sydney, and my piece is called A Princess in the Middle of Nowhere and Everywhere. I used to want to be a princess, but not just any princess, a pretty princess. I had heels with sparkling ribbons, glitzy ball gowns, glimmering hair clips, handbags galore, and most importantly, tiaras. My earliest memories involve sneaking into Mama's bathroom, taking a rather long look in the mirror, and opening all the gates to the elegant colors I had seen Mama sweep in dust on her face. Lipstick was by far my favorite. I knew all the rules to apply it. The boundaries were no lower than the point of my chin and no higher than the base of my nose. After working it in a good half hour, I turned my attention to blush. Blush was given the largest brush because it was meant to be painted on the whole face. By the end, my lips were 4 times the area, and my face was comparable to a glistening tomato. Yes, I was the most ravishing 4-year-old princess in all of Seattle, Washington. When my parents informed my brother Andrew and I we were moving to Alaska, all I needed to know was if I could bring my princess attire. I remember driving down Chinapump Road for the first time, and my parents saying, "Welcome to your new home," and I asked a reasonable follow-up question, "Where is it?" I looked for castles, but the houses were tucked away in the thicket of woods. I searched for evenly spaced, pre-designed landscapes, but instead found Alaskans' personal junkyards featuring half-opened cars. If that were not odd enough, Chinapump Road had its very own Statue of Liberty rising from the ditch, and across the way was a 12-foot Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket. A princess had never felt more out of place. We had moved just as school started, and not so surprisingly, I was the hottest preschooler there. No snow or minus 50 degrees would prevent me from my princess-like beauty. I even managed to wear these red Dorothy shoes that would leave a trail of magical glitter wherever I went, much to my teacher's pleasure. I had to be the prettiest girl at all times, which in my head was all a princess ever was. When we arrived at the season where the sun never sleeps, my parents thought we could better engage in Alaskan culture and lifestyle. In other words, they wanted me to go outside. They overenthusiastically announced we would go on a camping vacation, 2 words that do not belong in the same sentence. The way they described it, it was not the kind of camping I was used to. In fact, being dropped off by plane in the middle of nowhere hundreds of miles from civilization with increased mortality sounded a lot worse. During our drive north, Mama revealed the devastating news. I was not allowed to wear the outfit I was currently wearing, which, because I know you're interested, was a head-turning red velvet dress, shimmering white tights, a runway-worthy pair of black glossy heels set with sexy clip-on earrings. I remember we paused at a restaurant, and the Alaskans there chuckled when they saw me, saying that I must have been the best-dressed girl in the whole state. I said they were right. I fussed as Mama forced me into a Long Johnson fleece set, but before I could declare I was a princess, my Mama dragged my bratty self right into the car. When we arrived in Coldfoot, population 10, we helped load our supplies into a bush plane. Well, my parents and brother did. I had just gotten a manicure. We flew into the Brooks Range and were dropped off in, I kid you not, the middle of nowhere. The first half of the trip, my parents could not have wanted to disown me more. I was the worst whiner, complaining particularly about my clothes and the bugs. Mama advised me to wear a mosquito net. I refused to wear something so repulsive. I quickly paid the price as I became red and rash-like after one too many bites. I quietly woke up one morning, avoided eye contact with Mama, maintained a poised expression, with my nose upturned as I wore the net like I would a tiara. I had started the non-resort, non-spa vacation as a pretty princess with no care for the empty grounds around me. However, after a while I began to laugh instead of cry as our raft would ricochet off the immense rapids, unlatching from the river for a few terrifying but freeing seconds. The vacated land that had appeared either dull or threatening began to interest me and care for little me. The hills lifted me high above the earth while the wind combed my curly locks. When wading in the creeks, it felt as though nature created these safe streams and pools that branched from the wild river just for me and Andrew to play in. I even figured the sun never slept so that I would not be scared at night. I thought I was surrounded by nothing, not a human or house in sight. Now I could see I was embraced by the pieces that fill life with vibrancy. I was in the middle of nowhere and everywhere. The little girl, much in need of a shower, was no longer a pretty princess, so she set herself on a quest to find a new kind. On our last day, I wrote my name on a sandbank in large letters. A month later, a family we knew had flown over that very same bank and saw Sydney written in the Alaskan terrain. I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I was home. My brother and I attended a very Alaskan school that attracted parents only minorly concerned for their child's safety. The school is famous for encountering bears throughout the 6th grade mountain bike trip in Denali. When my brother went, he and his friend were biking up a pass when a bear came hurtling down the slope. The grizzly bounded off the road just in front of my brother's friend. My mother would have been hysterical. His mother said, "Wow, that was the most beautiful grizzly I have ever seen." Although I had not reached that level of Alaskan fearlessness, I did encounter my own bear named Tripod for his 3 legs. One night, I went to use the outhouse on the outskirts of camp. As I approached the flimsy wooden den, I noticed a dark figure rustling the thin spruces. My heart pounded in my chest and head. I saw a snout and dark, gleaming eyes turned towards me. I counted 3 legs. My skin prickled. I was just this small, pretty princess in need of a Prince Charming, right? Wrong. I needed to be fearless. I slowly unzipped my coat, gradually raised the hem high above my head, and backed away. In a moderately high-pitched voice, I said, "Hey, bear," over and over until I had reached my classmates. I had acted like an Alaskan princess would, an Alaskan princess capable of saving herself. When I was 14, I received my driving permit on the 7th try. My dad took me to this vacant lot, and I remember feeling vexed as I kept stalling the car. I would release the clutch too soon or be so focused on shifting gears I would ram into snow piles. When I'd only just been able to drive around the lot adequately safely, Dad decided I should drive the 30 minutes home. It was closer to 60 minutes of life-threatening driving. I stalled twice in the middle of the same intersection. I was bawling like an incredibly overgrown baby at the wheel and enclosed by furious drivers when my dad began chanting that I was the Alaskan Dom Toretto and to pull myself together. At the sound of Toretto and Alaska in the same sentence, I fiercely wiped my tears and channeled my inner Fast and Furious. I had to learn how to save myself. I restarted the car, perfectly released the clutch, and shifted to the right gears until we made our way pretty safely home. Eventually, after a lot of practice, the beat-up Subi had become my very own princess carriage. We tackle scads of dangerous road conditions, but perhaps my favorites are the most terrifying conditions we choose to drive in. You see, there was a shortcut to school during the winter that saved maybe 3 minutes. All we had to do was drive on the hopefully frozen river. When you give Alaskans the choice between an extra 3 minutes and slightly more probable death, they'll choose slightly more probable death. We would roll the windows down just in case the car did break through, and then floor the gas, cheering as we flew over uneven ice chunks. Best princess carriage ever. Alaskan nights have captured a special place in my spirit. One of the best was after senior prom. The night was beautifully chilly, so my friends and I decided to go hot tubbing beneath the northern lights. My home is on a cliff with the tub right on the edge. The still air was dusted with small flakes of fairy dust, and our eyelashes were wrapped in a layer of snow. We began coaxing each other to leap from the tub barefoot, sprint through the woods, and end the marathon by diving into a pile of snow. A smart and healthy decision? No, but 100% a fun one. Above us were the northern lights, soaked in greens, pinks, purples, and even glimmers of red. We watched the dancing, vibrant waves, knowing we would never forget our nights beneath the northern lit sky. It is the living sky and Alaskan adventures that call me home. Over winter break, my family and practically sister Yuki and I decided to do an all-day snow machine trip up in the mountains. I start with my long john layer, then a thin fleece set, followed by a thicker one, wind-breaking snow pants, fleece snow pants, a parka, and a shell. 5 full-body layers of clothing. My new princess attire is adventure gear because an Alaskan lives in the middle of nowhere and everywhere. In my room on Chena Pump Road, I have a tiara that sits on the head of my 5-foot-tall giraffe. Once in a while, I'll plop it on my unruly hair and amble to the edge of our balcony, 100 feet over the Tanana River. Some days, I can see Mount Denali beaming in the distance. I inhale the sweetest, most free breeze in the world. This is my home, my kingdom. I'm an Alaskan princess, and that is beautiful.